Graf Zeppelin first appeared in the event Divergent Desport, where a number of Ironblood ships were just copies of the original version, called Pawn. Then, Chercho of Iron and Blood. Bismarck mentions Graf Zeppelin, hoping that his planes will be here to shoot down the Swordfish planes. Then, in Inverted Ortent, Chapter 14, Suikaku asks the others, wasn't Agaki with Graf Zeppelin in Europa, because Ironblood planes are attacking them. This shows that no one knows that Graf Zeppelin has a sister, Peter Strasser. And in chapter 32, Peter is teaching Heinrich to be better and asks if she wants a Z-23 teaching course that is just as informative, or Graf Zeppelin, which is more of a world perspective and philosophical in nature. Okay, future me here. I have made some mistakes when translating, taking notes for myself, and misreading some parts. But Peter was comparing herself with Z-23 teaching style, and after that to the Graf Zeppelin. Just a small note here, so let's move on with the essay. If we focus only on these, Graf Zeppelin has not been very active at any point. She got a few changes to one of his abilities. Ironblood Hawk changed so that if you only have one Ironblood plane, the efficiency of his planes will be increased by 30%. If I remember correctly, the old version of this ability only required a certain Ironblood planes to give some boosts, but I don't have a picture to prove it. Now it would be a good time to take a look at the origin of Graf Zeppelin, where she came from, and who created him in the Azur lane. First, I want to express that the information I am using here has been collected with the help of Google search as well as through the YouTube channels, and these are the Ship Historian Dragonfell and Slice Experts and Authentic Documentary. Although the two channels repeat the same thing, I combine this information nevertheless. And last but not least, the Mega Projects YouTube channel, which also tells about the history of Graf Zeppelin. With this information, I will try to tell the history of Graf Zeppelin as simply as possible, and at the same time, I will try not to put too much information on this, because we also need to watch the Azur lane version of Graf Zeppelin. Let's start with history first, because I believe that knowing your ship girl origins and history shows that you care about and are interested in your chosen favorite ship girl. The ship itself is a DKM Graf Zeppelin, but there are designations German Navy aircraft carrier Graf Zeppelin or KMS Graf Zeppelin. The story of Graf Zeppelin begins in the early 1930s. Grand Admiral Raeder, leader of the Kriegsmarine, added an aircraft carrier to the list as part of rebuilding the fleet. Although Germany has never made aircraft carriers, but there was a ship called SMS Santa Elena from the World War I, but she only managed seaplanes. and all the intelligence came through the Zeppelins, those huge constructs in the sky. Since Franz's own aircraft carrier was refitted Bern, the designers of Graf Zeppelin did not have much resistance to design against. As time passed, the initially 10,000-ton aircraft carrier began to be enlarged, and the Anglo-German treaty gave an additional ton of volume to build a larger aircraft carrier, about 38,000 tons displacement, which led to the choice to build two aircraft carriers with a displacement of about 19,000 tons. According to information, these would initially be given 203mm guns, but instability forced smaller guns already in the design process, and they were lowered to 150mm guns, the same guns used in the Deutschland, Scharnhorst and Bismarck classes. But for some strange reason, someone misunderstood the message, which led to Graf Zeppelin getting a double barrel setup. So you have to give 8 cannons, but you misunderstand that 8 per side, which leads to 16 cannons. In the meantime, I ask you to investigate the matter more closely, because translating from English to Finnish and vice versa leads to a little oops explanations. But since the designers were only going with the theory of what an aircraft carrier does, communication with Japan improved, and in sharing information, they got more information from the Agagi drawings. It improved the situation, but the lack of real experience, the theories guided the construction of the Graf Zeppelin. Towards the end of 1938, Flugzeugträger A, aircraft carrier A, which was named Graf Zeppelin, was launched, and the rest of the design did not begin until 1939. The aircraft chosen to be Messerschmitt Bf 109, the fleet model Junker GU-87, and the Fi-167 biplane. These were supposed to be Graf Zeppelin Air Force, but they were then changed to the GU-87 and Bf-109 planes. The Fi-167 was removed. But Luftwaffe Commander Göring did not believe in the ship's potential, and is also said to have said, "Everything that flies belongs to me and the Luftwaffe." Then war broke out, which led to the taking of equipment and the need for labor to repair broken ships. She was about 85% complete, and she was temporarily transferred to a port called Gdynia today in Poland. She was designed to have 16 ultra-high pressure Lamont boilers, 4 Brown, Poweri and Xi turbines, theoretically producing 200,000 shaft horsepower, pushing the ship at 33.8 knots. If I calculate correctly, that's somewhere closely 16 kilometers per hour in sea. Believe it or not, after the destruction of Bismarck, the British tried to bomb the Graf Zeppelin because the admirals knew what destruction she could do if she ever was finished. She was transferred back to Kiel, and later to the current Świnoujście in 1943 in the direction of Poland. But as usual, the greed of mad dictators destroys not only themselves, but also the country they lead. And in 1945 the Red Army approached the location of the Graf Zeppelin, and her crew was ordered to sink the ship on 25th April 1945. But his fate went in the hands of the Red Army, because she was in bad shape because of the bombs, and the other allies weren't interested in the ship. The Soviet Union studied him well, because they themselves did not have an aircraft carrier compared to the other allies. She was lifted from the bottom in 1946 and began to do research on how to sink an aircraft carrier with missiles, and persistently stayed afloat thanks to good planning despite bomb tests. She finally sank to the bottom, north from the Polish shore, at a depth of 80 meters. Here is only a small part of the history of Graf Zeppelin, but I recommend researching his history. It is interesting, but personally, a person who likes warships, no matter how failed or successful they are, the history of this ship is pretty sad for my taste. Then there is the Azur version of the Graf Zeppelin itself. According to the information, his Azur designer is Kishio 1943, but also Kishio? Question mark? I don't know how to pronounce it in Japan, but apologies if I mispronounce the name. Since I don't have an account on the X6 page, it's hard to get more information. And the artist's situation is a mystery. But she seems to have made characters for Girls Front Line, for example, which is a good sign, because she seems to be still making some characters. But I might be wrong in this case. In addition to Graf Zeppelin, she has created 9 other characters, Atago and Azuma, who are on the list. Plus, Azuma is from the 2019, excuse me, PR2 series. The strange thing is, I only found Graf Zeppelin related pictures on Twitter page. The other pages produced 0 results. Her appearance. She has 3-headed shark rigging. A younger Stuka Ju-87 can be seen there. Even his double hanger, which was designed and made for the Graf Zeppelin, which is a stunning detail. The first end starts from the bottom left. Next to the mouth you can see a double arrangement of 150mm cannons and 105mm anti-aircraft guns are placed on a rigging behind the Graf Zeppelin back, which is a clever idea and mysterious, because it's hard to say if it's hanging there like other rigging usually does, or if there's something else going on that I don't know yet. Then the shark's head in the middle, or the body itself, on which Graf Zeppelin is sitting, with a big cannon in his mouth. Now I'm sure she's supposed to shoot some kind of laser, with which he then destroys his enemies. But his chibi animation shows that it doesn't work properly, probably due to history, because she has never been 100% completed. The red eyes, the thick long white hair, the details in the character themselves are sickly great. And she only got one skin, which happened to be his first and last since 2019. Her only skin is the beach version, and this swimsuit is an interesting and pretty good choice. I once heard the English name, but since it was many years ago, I have forgotten what the swimsuit style name is. And now we go forward in time to 2022. The Augment module was released, and the Graf Zeppelin got its own, called the Concentrated Beam Type Assault Rigging NT. I warn you, the name is pretty misleading, because it clearly mentions concentrated beam, to give some assumption that finally Graf Zeppelin's rigging is doing something cool. Well, let me show you a short video clip of what it actually does.
では始めよう。我らの破壊を。明石に任せろにゃ。状態良好。行こう。その優雅さいつまで持つかしら。状態良好。終わりだ。行こう。フーネブル。明石に任せろにゃ。終わりだ。フーネブル。状態良好。行こう。
That's all. It's not the beam, it's a pile of wasted dive bombs. In my opinion, I have to admit that this is a big insult. No matter how hard I try to twist this, it's very bad in every possible way. Although it gives some nice boost to her aviation stats. If this had given the Graf Zeppelin some ghost cannon that fires very far with a fast loading time, then this would have been worth the investment. But let's not forget the Azur Lane Crossway version of Graf Zeppelin. And so I decided to give him a chance to talk in this video clip. Let's listen to what she has to say.
あ、ロンさん、教室に来るのずいぶん早いですね。そういうニーミちゃんこそ予習でもしてるんですか？模範生ですね。どこかで息抜きして時間を潰そうかとも思いましたけど、この次は偽装理論の授業ですから、私は万一にも遅れたくなくて。主力艦隊の方を招いての授業、貴重ですしね。お隣いいですか？もちろんだよ。同じ班ですから、私には遠慮しないで。よいしょっと。教室もうかなり人で混雑してますね。グラウフさん有名人ですからね。
諸君、お初にお目にかかる。我が名はグラーフ・ツェッペリン。本学の責任者であるフリードリヒ・デア・グローセより誘いを受け、 本日からしばらく非常勤講師として教壇に立たせていただく。
おお。
さて、まずは歴史の話だ。まだセイレーンという存在が公に確認されていない頃から我は艦船として任務に当たっていたが、偽装の運用はあの頃海賊対策などの治安維持目的で抑止に使われていた。もっとも今や鉄血の戦艦の偽装は日増しに巨大化しており、いずれ偽装の方こそ手がつけられなくなると言われている。さて、我々の偽装は機械と生命の雑種、平たく言えば愛の子であり、鉄血の技術力の結集である。しかしその性能を最大級に発揮できる艦船は私に言わせればまだほとんどいない。この我を含め
そんなことは。
ほう、君は我の発言の何に対してそう感じたかな。
あ、その
声が大きくてグラフさんに聞こえてしまいましたね。
気にしなくていい。感じた疑問については我としても聞いておきたい。君の名は？
税23駆逐艦です。
残念ながら偽装の技術の全容は未だにブラックボックスだ。我々もそのごくわずかしか解明できていない。それは偽装を操っている君自身も分かっているだろう。
しかし自分用の偽装の改造、つまり偽装の変更ができる時点である程度なら偽装の分解や改造も。
そうだな。だが偽装の改造はあくまで技術だ。理論を備えず、あくまでこうすればこうなる程度の運用では使いこなすとは言えない。
ですが私はただグラーフさんは偽装を完璧に使いこなされていると演習の報道を見聞きして思っていたから。
あんなもの所詮は演習、盤上の遊戯に過ぎない。
そうですよね。やっぱり実践じゃないと。
うん、正解だ。真に命を懸けた戦いの舞台でなければ戦技の真髄を語るには程遠い。特に我のような空母にとっては君の名も聞いておくとしよう。
ローンと言います。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
我と同じく還暦を持たぬ。いや、多少出自の差はあれど関係ないことか。諸君らはゆくゆく皆が己に見合った鉄血の偽装と海をかけると思うが、偽装と共に成長をしてほしいのだ。これこそ鉄血にしかできぬことである。
ひょっとして偽装が生きているから。
君は話の飲み込みがいいようだ。それでは続いて鉄血の偽装のメカニズムを振り返っていくとしよう。
Graf Zeppelin is the teacher role, and Peter Strasser mentioned something about this already at the Inverted Orthent event. Although Graf Zeppelin has not received much attention over the years, she has appeared in some loading screens, character stories like Akagi's secretary story, Aquila, then in small events like Escape from the Port. Actually, here is the list where she appeared. Graf Zeppelin also appears in certain download images, and The Early Summer Gift and New Year as a donor. Also, Valentine gift. And in Akashi's Black Friday 2024 video. Let's put everything together that this information gives. First, during the beach period, she was against treats, but apparently liked them at the first tasting. Then in Escape from Port, she took Seppi in his own care, as Seppi is a younger version of Graf Zeppelin, and pointed out that even though their personalities are different, she will not treat him poorly. Then, welcome to Little Academy. The program put up by Yubari got messed up and started to cause problems. There are all the child variation of adult ships, and the Jet 47 runs on track that works like a big treadmill, and in the middle of that track are Seppi, Renown and Cleveland. Jet 43 tried to help Jet 47, but got stuck on a pitch-sized treadmill track. Then Seppi got an idea how to free the duo. She grabs Cleveland by the waist, lifts him up into the air, spins very fast, and throws her like a missile, and the girls get off the track. Graf Zeppelin saw the situation and gave good feedback on Seppi's creativity. Then there's a Jet 46 secretary story. In it, Zeppelin asked his little friend if she could speak like others normally, and not figuratively or cryptically. And she said she was cheering for the Jet 46. And to top it all off, Graf Zeppelin shared his sauerkraut risotto. I looked at his instructions and I have to admit I'd like to try to do it someday. Aquila secretary story, in which Aquila gets to attend a regularly scheduled carrier exercises event where there are other ships like him built, but with no battle history. She initially notices the Graf Zeppelin there, and I would like to point out that the Italian Navy took some studies on its own aircraft carrier, the Aquila, based on the German Graf Zeppelin. This is also where Peter Strasser, Zeppelin's sister, also appears. It would be best to also consider Akagi's secretary story last. In it, Chapter 4, the Iron Blood Sakura Empire party is going on, and that's where they meet. Graf Zeppelin was surprised to see Akagi at that party, and Akagi then replies that someone must be looking after the kids, and assumes that she is there for the same reason. Graf Zeppelin admits it, and assumes that this may be because she is designed based on Akagi, not only for power, but also for these things as well. I recommend watching Akagi's story, Spider Little's Love. It is interesting in many ways. She appears occasionally here and there, but the year 2021 accident. The Chinese state banned 18 ships from the Xi'an server. Taiho, Akagi, and Graf Zeppelin are on this list. I doubt that the reason why Graf Zeppelin ended up on this list is surely that she is German copy of the Akagi ship. This is just speculation, but since Scharnhorst has also been removed from the Xi'an server, In the end, I don't understand why that country makes everything difficult for everyone. Also, Graf Zeppelin hasn't received anything new other than the Augment module in 2022. And everything sunk into silence. Taiho and Agagi may have been banned on a CN server, but there are meta versions of them. Is it possible to get a meta version for Graf Zeppelin then? That idea just depends on Manju/Joestar's side to make us Graf Zeppelin meta. Graf Zeppelin has only gotten opportunities to give New Year letters, early summer giveaways, and Valentine Day gifts. An Augment module that's not good after all. And only one skin in 2019. If I were to compare the Azur Lane Graf Zeppelin, the German-built Graf Zeppelin, she has basically ended up in the same place as the German Zeppelin had ended up in. It is known that she exists, but there is no possibility of receiving or doing anything. She is stuck, shackled with similar fate, like what happened with real-life Graf Zeppelin. The only place where you can see that his personality has grown is only through letters and gifts. Valentine, New Year gift, early summer, etc. etc. If they wanted to release him, it would require impressive community support, which would free him from this dark place. Despite this, she has received a respectable number of fan arts as well as fanfiction stories, which seems to indicate that there are players in the Azur Lane community who like and care about Graf Zeppelin. Now I do want to point out this fact. There are some flaws with this essay, like the artist who made Graf Zeppelin and his current state. If you have played Azur Lane, you can see that Takao, one of the artist Kishio characters, got a new skin in early 2026. So that is a really good sign that the artist is still in the Joestar/Manju. And the Graf Zeppelin planned with 203mm cannons. I heard that from the World of Warships introduction of Graf Zeppelin in their game. I wanted to point this out because it felt like this should be pointed out. But I recommend that you tell your opinion in the comment section if you think I missed something. His character description in the Crosswave is described. Although he has pessimistic personality, deep in his heart, he feels an inner conflict with a desire for someone who could save him. Finally, I would like to add 2 messages from Graf Zeppelin to this essay, which read: Graf Zeppelin gift, New Year 2025. It reads: May your New Year's be filled not with hatred, but with love. And the following says this: Graf Zeppelin's gift, New Year 2025. It reads: May the cold of this world recede ever so slightly this year, ushering in a quantum of warmth. I think I will end this essay with 2 questions. How much do you care about Graf Zeppelin? And how do you see the current state of Graf Zeppelin?